listening to the PACE Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
I want to tell you all a little bit about a plant I know that can save the world. It grows long and tall and has flowers that can make your mind swirl. It's a funky plant with a fiber.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Grassroots Advocate. It's June the 17th, 2021, and this month we're going to cover with issue 14 of the magazine. I'm Al Graham, and Tamara joins me as we are live here at Pace Radio Network's Facebook and YouTube pages, and we will be podcasted afterwards at paceradio.net. Good morning, Tamara. How are you today?
I'm okay, Al. How are you doing?
Good. That's
different, right? We got the StreamYard going, so people can actually read along with us now, which I think is terrific.
Exactly. This is our first time. This is a live test. We haven't tried this way yet, and we'll just see how things go. Right?
Yeah. And I've shared it to my page too. So if you guys want to go on there, but you have to, for us to see the comments in the back of StreamYard, if you guys are going to comment, you have to give StreamYard permission for you to comment, and then while we're running, we can actually see comments on the StreamYard.
Yes. As long as we keep an eye on them, we'll be able to see that.
Yep.
So to give our viewers on Facebook as well as on YouTube on our network's pages there, basically Grassroots Advocate was a magazine that was started by PACE several years ago, and there was a total of 22 issues, I believe, and then it has stopped being published, but it was distributed to different places: Peterborough, Belleville.
We had it in Alberta.
Yeah, you had it in Alberta. It was down.
We sure did. Yeah,
it was down on the East Coast and things. There was different variations of it. Actually, today is basically the second version of it, and I'll get into that more as we get to reading the editorial. So basically, the magazine itself, it has the editorial. There was medical information in it. There was news in it. There was recipes, blogs, advocacy articles, directories for patients to get medicine from compassion centers to learning, getting their license, signing clinics, all that stuff was listed there for people to have access to it.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we'll go through that as the show progresses, and we'll see how things work out.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All righty. So let's get started here. I'll bring up the issue of the magazine, and we'll get going. There we go.
Rolling along. I think we have to start with the editorial because I guess the cover page.
Cover page. We'll get started with the cover page. As you can see here, there's a guy here with a scratching his head with a question mark looking down at the bud there on the side going, hey, what the fuck is this, right?
Yeah.
And off to the left, you can see there, these are the articles within the magazine that we're covering, and it has to do with, why cannabis affects humans, cannabis-infused coconut custard pie, recipes, and the things, and advocacy, the global marijuana March from 2018 was an advocacy article that was in there. So we'll be reading and reviewing that as we go along. You can see here there is also an index where it talks about the editorial, cannabis and you. There's recipes, keeping pace, which is the advocacy article, and then directory, which had the signing clinics, compassion centers, and regulations. A little bit of information, let people know what all is involved in PACE is in the next one there at the bottom. And acknowledgements. The cover photo is in the public domain. Credits go to myself, Lisa Weingarten, Herb Coe, Gui Rubinski, and Mary Jane Baker all contributed stuff to this issue. Which was, you can see there, it was originally published in June of 2018.
Mm-hmm. But it was June 2021 now, and things have changed quite substantially.
Things have changed. And I sort of look at this as a flashback in time, especially when we were doing the news article end of things, because, we were able to discuss the news.
Right. Well, and with reefer reports, so with you guys continuing with doing that, it keeps everybody kind of up to date on what we still have going on. So
yes, exactly.
Combined, the whole network is kind of a full meal deal, really, if you listen to the network.
Yeah. One time there was audio, print. And now we got video as well. Those are video, right? So
I know, right? Before we'd have to wait for snail mail to come with our little brown envelopes with our High Times and your like your stuff would come in boxes, but we would get our High Times magazines and our in a brown envelope.
Yes, exactly. Well, at one time, as we know, they were illegal here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So things have changed. Okay, so. To get to the editorial here, as it says, it shows there, it's titled "We're Back," and I'll read it off. It says, "Wow, we made it back. If you're not sure what I'm referring to, let me explain. After publishing this and something similar to Grassroots Advocate for over 2 years, I became ill and had to shut down. Our last issue was March of 2017, and after battling my Crohn's disease from home, I was hospitalized, but did avoid surgery this time. As you know, Tamara, I just had a MRI to maybe see what's going on.
Yeah.
As the sole collector of the information and delivery guide for Grassroots Advocate, everything stopped, and it took me some time to heal. The fact that this publication is returning is surprising, but yes, it is a bit different. During the last several months, I've been asked numerous times by friends and business owners of Grassroots if Grassroots was ever going to return. So I guess you have to say it's back due to those who enjoyed it and felt it was something that was very important to help educate others. Some of the changes have made it to help reduce my workload involved in getting this out, but also wanted to make sure that the important articles stayed. Gone are the news articles, as well as the monthly blog, and I would find and share with our readers. While I found that these were important, changes had to be made. I figured something that can help educate people is better than nothing at all. And on top of that, I can no longer do this monthly, so Grassroots Advocate will become a quarterly publication. So Tamara, at one time, this was going out, once a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know how hard you guys worked on it. And I know lots of people really, really enjoyed getting it. Because like I said, we did. Keith and Debbie would send them to me from Calgary 420 and I'd distribute them in Lethbridge. And then once I moved to here, I can't remember if I got some here or not. I think I did. I think Debbie Stoltz-Giffen actually sent me some out from Nova Scotia.
Yeah, because we were sending her pile down to the East Coast.
Yeah. So I believe Deb sent me out a bunch here. And then I think the first Kootenai Cannabis Cup, we had a couple left. And I think I raffled a couple of them off.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had Justice League, because Julie had sent me all the Justice Leagues to go in for the skunk magazines to go in the bags, swag bags, right? Yeah. So I think we added a few, but it's I'm sure lots of people miss it. But again, we've got this now, so.
Yeah, exactly. So because of these changes, Grassroots Advocate is going to be a bit thinner, the magazine, and me personally, and I still am. As we've lost a few pages and me a few pounds, I'm still fighting finding a medical order for Cannabis and You. That's our Cannabis and You recipes. There will also be advocacy articles, and of course, I'll have my own opinion on something within my editorial. People who are looking to find a compassion club, looking to grow for themselves, to someone who is looking for some information on the ACMPR, they will still be able to find that in our directory. Lisa Weingarten, a friend of over 20 years, will be returning as my graphic artist and layout person. Lisa is an important part of Grassroots Advocate, and without her, Grassroots Advocate will still be waiting in return. Like everyone else, she too was asking when it would be back. And just so you know, Tamara, she still asks me, are you ready to do another publication yet?
Well, it's how much work's behind it.
Yeah, I sure do, man. I sure do.
But also, we could talk about that.
Yeah, that's right. We can. It can be coming back, and I could see more changes.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, we'll be returning our two of our big sponsors, BMA Hydroponics and Belleville and Legacy 420, are located in Taganaga. They have been big supporters of PACE, and things haven't changed. BMA has been supporting PACE since the start in 2010, and Legacy 420 has been instrumental in getting hundreds of Grassroots Advocate copies into businesses in our area. And actually, they've been with us since 2015.
Yeah.
It's also because of these two businesses that our paper issues will be available, or were available, as they will be sponsoring this publication, and they will be on our back page. And that's what happened. I had to reduce the number of sponsors to reduce the running around and reduce some of the stress on me. So.
Oh yeah, that's like I said. I understand how much work it is trying to get sponsors. Even like I said, even for our radio shows.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Even trying to get guests now is difficult because everybody's not doing things. It's hard to talk to people that are not in the legal industry.
Yeah, that's what. What I'm finding is because there's not events going on, and we're not getting together and stuff like that, and because those things aren't happening, people can't report on them, can't talk about them, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and like I said, if you're working in the legal industry, I don't know if they're allowed to. Like I get a lot of barriers on what they can and can't say, and yeah.
Now, when as far as you'll see, there's a picture of me there off the side. I'm standing. That's inside one plant. I'm standing inside the plant.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a CBD hammer shark that was being grown for a lady who had, I believe, his kidneys. I believe it was a kidney issue. I'm not 100% sure. But cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's no longer with us, unfortunately. So, all righty. So that was the editorial. So you see, over time, things have changed. Anybody who's listened to any of our past shows, there was a pile of stuff in there, and there still is stuff, but we've had to reduce things, and things change. Things change, right?
It says issue 13 on the bottom of these pages.
Does it? Oh, that was probably because we didn't catch that to change it.
No, I was just thinking 13 is my favorite number. And everything was 13s the other day. And I'm looking at this going, oh, this is issue 13. Well, this is kind of cool. This drops as 14. This is, I don't care either way, but I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yes, there was that mistake was made. I forgot about it, but I do remember it now.
No, like I didn't even think to point that out. It was just like, oh, 13, because the day I posted that everything was coming up 13s, right? 13 years of cannabis activism, 13, my friends' anniversaries are 13. And this is issue 13. It's just kind of weird. Yeah,
that's right. All right. Okay. On to the next thing. This is a medical article, Cannabis and You. This was written by Guru Bensky back in November of 2015. And it's 6 years old, but medical information and like that and research never gets old.
No, and they're moving forward with that too. I think the more we open up with legalization, the more research is being done. So
basically the article talks about THC and CBD and the benefits of it. They talk about the cannabinoids, terpenes. And how that there's, as GUI says here, 480 natural components found within the cannabis plant,
which is more than they thought because at one point it was 420.
Yeah, exactly. And then our body has got these receptors within the endocannabinoid system. So by getting this out in paper, people had said to me they want to hold it in their hands and read it, right?
Yeah.
And this gave people who may listen now will say, well, yeah, I know about the cannabinoid system, but 4 years ago it was a different story, or 3 years ago it was a different story, and you had to get this type of information out.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and it's a good thing that we are still able to get it out. So
that's right. As it says here, readers have already learned that molecules like cannabinoids and terpenes fit into special receptors within the endocannabinoid system. Researchers or doctors would say that molecules like THC and active particular cannabinoid receptors, this is these receptors 1 and 2, CB1 and 2, will work like a lock and key when flooded with cannabinoids, such as with a patient who smokes, vaporizes, and ingests.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and a
Right.
concentrated and edible, like, and that's what we've been finding too. Like even over the years with me making candy and baking, you go straight to extracts now. You don't even mess around with anything else. Like making butter and stuff is great, and olive oils and stuff. But if you want something that's really effective, you're putting oil concentrate right into your mixtures.
Yeah. Some people would say, well, how come people didn't know about this cannabinoid system for, medicine's been around a long time, but it wasn't discovered till 1992.
Yeah.
Before it was even discovered. And that was by Raphael Mechoulam.
Yeah. And it was in Jerusalem too. It wasn't here. It wasn't in Canada.
No, it wasn't.
They've been doing lots of research over there.
Oh, Israel.
In Israel for a long time, yeah. And I think that, our doctors prior to, like, because if you go back into history, I think cannabinoids and cocaine was used a lot for medical purposes long before prohibition, right?
Yeah. And here's an important point he's got here, and I'll quote him. Many medical professionals and researchers identified a shortage of endocannabinoids as a condition called endocannabinoid deficiency. It is theorized that a deficiency of these molecules, which are increasingly understood to be critical to good health and homeostasis, which is balance, within humans, may lead to a variety of diseases related to immune and nervous systems. These conditions often involve inflammation, pain, and nausea, and the side effects of diseases and pharmaceutical drugs and treatments like chemotherapy.
Maybe that's my problem.
Yeah. Well, see, there's been a growth, constant. There's more people getting Crohn's. There's more people getting, autoimmune conditions. The further we got away from having cannabis in our diets. And our animals, that ate cannabis, we are what we eat. They ate the cannabis, we ate them.
Right.
Yeah. And, there's been, there's less of that due to laws and prohibition. Who knows what's going to happen another, 50 years down the road? Will these diseases start to teeter off as more cannabis gets back into the human system?
Well, like, I don't know if you watch American. Well, yeah, you do watch American TV. They've got a hemp rub topical that that they advertise nationally now on CNN, for God's sakes. When I looked at that and went, oh my God, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
This is where we are coming full circle.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but like I was telling you before, like some other product I've been buying because I've had so we had COVID on the reserve, so I couldn't go out there, isn't that bad. I hate to say it. It's been pretty good. Can you hear me chewing my tongue?
All right. See, the article goes on to say CB1 receptors was discovered in 1990. CB2 discovered in 1993 by a research group at Cambridge University. The CB1 sites are found on different types of cells. CB2 receptors, on the contrary, are located throughout the immune system and related organs. They're also found in greater concentrations throughout the gastrointestinal system. That's why I like Afghani strains. I find that they have more CB2 in them. I
like Afghani strains too.
Yeah. Throughout the gastrointestinal system, where they modulate intestinal inflammatory response. This is why sufferers of Crohn's disease and IBS gain such great relief from cannabis medicines.
I agree.
Yeah, cannabis has been shown to have such great efficacy for this condition that in nearly half of the cases, the kind herb puts the disease into full remission.
Well, I wish I could say that was the case sometimes.
So I know it has for some people, and it hasn't for other people.
Yeah,
and he says half the cases.
But again, like if you read on forward to like with eating disorders, like patients suffering from anorexia, cannabis is a definite yes for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But here's the thing with anorexia too. Anorexia is also a mental health disorder. So. You know what I mean? So that's a really difficult combination when you're dealing with somebody who their brain's telling them they can't eat, but yet you're feeding them cannabis and they're starving. You know what I mean? Like it's difficult. Yeah.
Now, so it goes on here about receptor expression. He says one patient may overexpress the receptor like CB1 And he says in brackets, meaning they have more receptors than average, and as a result, be very sensitive to cannabinoid like THC. Other patients may underexpress a receptor like CB2, meaning they may be less sensitive to the therapeutic benefits of a cannabinoid or cannabinoid like CBD, may need to consume it in a greater quantities and add other cannabinoids and terpenes to the mix, especially those that target other receptors.
I like the fact that they're bringing terpenes into this, because that's something that we really don't talk about lots.
Correct. And, you know, we're all built differently. You know, we have livers and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, maybe everybody doesn't have the same amount of CB1, same amount of CB2 receptors.
Right. Absolutely. You know, and that's the thing. Like, we don't know exactly what everybody else is. We're all unique, even within our own bodies. So it's really difficult to say what can work for one may not work for somebody else. So
exactly. He says here that a study published in 2010 in the British Journal of Pharmacology provided further evidence that receptors may vary in density with which they appear in various parts of the body, mostly the brain, central nervous system, and immune system. So they can vary. They can vary.
Absolutely, and the benefits for individuals is
correct.
Exactly,
and that's what he asks here. How does the knowledge of the binding affinity of particular cannabinoids to certain types of receptors within the endocannabinoid system aid consumers? First, patients become educated about how particular cannabinoids and terpenes offer therapy for targeted diseases and ailments. Bingo.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For those who suffer epilepsy, for example, may prefer a high CBD, low THC strain that reduces the incidence of seizures in both children and adults, but doesn't provide so much psychoactive effect that interferes with one's school, job, or family's life. Common THC to CBD ratios of commercial products in general state or legal states is 1:1 and 1:20, although experimentation is occurring with many ratios, which is just true. Yeah.
Lots of different ratios, and each ratio can be completely different on a day-to-day basis. Some people are finding.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, it just depends, because every day, biologically you're changing, right? Like, I don't think people understand that the chemicals in our bodies change daily. And sometimes what works one day is not going to work the next. And I know that Sarah has found that out with Maya, that some days, she doesn't need much. Some days she needs like uber amounts. And sometimes it's more THC than it is CBD. It just depends on the day. Especially hormones, especially for girls going through puberty and, women going through menopause, like the hormonal balance, and even for men over 40, like whether, men want to admit it or not, after you turn 40, your testosterone levels go down, right? And you really have to, cannabinoids can help that too.
That's right. Exactly. They sure can. Yeah. Okay. On to the next story within the magazine here we're going to cover, and that is recipes. Everybody loves recipes. 3
mushrooms. They got morels out here like crazy because we've had the forest fires, so people are picking morel mushrooms out here like mad.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, the recipe is how to make cannabis infused 3 mushroom stew with pasta. Wow. I don't like mushrooms, just so you know.
I do. I love them. My grandma, I love mushrooms. I'm not a fan of the morels because they're kind of dirty tasting, but I like mushrooms.
I see they recommend the shit take mushroom.
Shiitake. Yeah.
Oh, is that
shitty mushrooms? Because my mom doesn't like mushrooms. Those are shitty mushrooms. Yeah, shiitake mushrooms. Yeah, those are the Japanese small button kind of version. And then what do they got in here? Chopped top green carrots, and the mushrooms are only to be in place of, like, a lot of people that don't eat meat will eat mushrooms instead, right? Okay. And that's why this is it looks like this is like more of a vegetarian type meal, because there's no meat in it. Right?
There's no meat in it. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And then they've used dried mushrooms, which again I wouldn't do either. But that's me. I like fresh stuff. But it looks really good. Like, you basically could chop up a bunch of, because you're using canna olive oil to infuse the meal. So you could do this dish over pasta with any vegetable and add your canna olive oil. which is made with infusing cannabis, olive oil with cannabis, which again isn't difficult. You just add your cannabis to the olive oil, you warm it up, you let it sit for a bit, and then you strain it all off. And then it's pretty similar to making canna butter, right? Same type of process. But yeah, like this is like just, like I said, just by looking at it, because it's got no meat, this would be a vegetarian. I'm not sure if it's a vegan.
That I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on the pasta, I guess, but yeah.
Right, maybe.
It looks good.
So there you go. Yeah. And you can always alter the recipes a little bit. These are good start.
You could add meat too. Like in reality, you could add meat to this. You could.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree. And the next recipe, how to make, yes, because there's two of them, how to make cannabis infused coconut custard pie.
That looks super good.
So we had the, you could call it the meal, or the dinner with the mushroom recipe, and we got dessert with the custard pie. Right,
but it's an infused pie crust. So that's interesting, because depending on how you make your pie crust, how are you infusing that? Your butter? You can't infuse lard, because you usually use tenderflake. You couldn't infuse the lard. You would use butter, you could. But usually pie crust is just cold water and lard.
Really?
And flour. So I'm wondering if did they grind up cannabis and make that into canna flour?
Yeah.
Like they just because I'm like looking at it. No, there's no.
That would probably would be a recipe at Herb Co. They could have had a separate
an infused pie crust. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. Because occasionally, what I would do in these issues is just put in the recipe on how to make oil,
right,
or how to do milk. Something that a lot of people know, but there's people out there who don't know, and they would read the recipe and would say, well, use a half a cup of infused coconut oil. Well, how do I make that?
Yeah, and there is a cup and a half of full fat coconut milk in the recipe. So you could infuse that as well to infuse the filling, because that's what it looks like. The 4 eggs, the coconut milk, the condensed milk, the sugar, that would be your filling, right?
Yeah.
But it's got one infused pie crust. So yeah, you can probably go back to that. And you've got the link up there at the top anyway, herb.co marijuana recipes. So people could go back and look at that and figure out how to do that. But it just kind of makes my brain work, like infused pie crust. How have they done
that? I've never made a pie crust, so I can't help you out there in any way.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, because most of the time you use either tenderflake or Crisco, or you're using butter. Some people make butter crust, right?
Right.
So if you had infused canna butter, then that would be a non-issue. But I'm not sure you can infuse Crisco with cannabis. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I'm not of any help to you on that either.
Like, that's something to look up, though. But that is something to look into, because, like I said, it's usually your lactose, the fat content that the cannabinoids attached to make the infusion, right?
I'll have to talk to my son. He is a certified baker. He hasn't baked in a while, but he worked at a bakery for, 10 or 12 years. Took the course, all that stuff in college. So I'll have to ask him. I'll see him this weekend.
Yeah, but see, we figure if we can infuse tenderflake.
yeah, exactly. Right. All right, on to I believe the last article within the magazine, and that is the Keeping Pace article, which is the advocacy article, and this was written by me, and the pictures were supplied to me by Mary Jane Baker.
Cool. This is kind of heartbreaking, because this is the second year that we weren't able to participate in the Global Marijuana March, which is the first Saturday of every May.
That's right.
Every year.
Last night we had Jennifer Pixie on the Pace Radio show.
Oh, I love Jen.
And I had Loretta Clark filling in.
Yeah, I seen that. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
And that was one of the questions I asked during the interview last night. Is the first question here in this article, and it says, with the legalization of cannabis coming to Canada, will events like the Toronto Global Marijuana March fade away? And it was like, there was no affirmative answer, really. We don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that's the thing, like, the gathering issue isn't really even the issue anymore. we can't gather. We can gather now up to 50 people in British Columbia. That was lifted for us. I mean, we're starting to open things up. People are getting vaccinated, and things are going to go back to normal. Like, I think people figured that we were going to be stuck with this forever. We're not. COVID is going to definitely stay around forever because we've got, the variables that are still out there. But as far as gathering in these large, I think my biggest concern with whether these are going to continue to go on is legalization, is that people aren't going to be bothered to have to worry about fighting anymore. People aren't getting arrested anymore. And you can't bring your illegal, illicit stuff to a market because then they are going to bust you. So, and with the stores and their advertising, I don't know if the stores could bring little booths out to these markets like they do farmers markets here in town. I know that the stores aren't allowed to take their storeware out to the farmers market here. So I don't know whether they'd be able to do that. But, I'd love to see it continue myself personally, because I love the event. I love the camaraderie. I love the fact that we can run into friends that we haven't seen for, say, a year, and everybody gathered together. And it was just a nice time of everybody like celebrating.
Right.
But that could be the way it changes moving forward.
This article, when I wrote this one, this was in 2018, and that would have been, I believe there was 0 construction there. I think that's what the article mentions, and things had changed already, because for previous years there was permits that were issued and stuff like that, and then they stopped being issued, and the gates were put up and the whole bit.
Yeah, and you wrote that in the article that there was construction and that the permits haven't been granted this annual event for many years. And the beat just keeps going on. When they had permits, vendors got licenses to sell their wares. And the location, you had food vendors, live bands, and porta potties. Within these permits, these things were not supposed to happen. Without these permits, these things are not supposed to happen. So, and that's true. And if you don't have permits in some larger cities, the porta potty companies will not bring you porta potties.
No.
Right? If you don't have a permit. And if you don't have a permit for a band, the bands will not play.
And you got 25,000 people there.
With no toilet.
No toilet. And then you got businesses that are going like, oh, like, where are all these people coming from? And some people, many of them come from out of the city, and they don't know where the bathrooms are or anything like that. Businesses can allow them in. Yeah. I
mean, if the businesses make them pay for something first, it wouldn't be bad for a business.
Exactly.
You have to buy something to use my bathroom.
Will grassroots vendors, legacy vendors, will they show up? Maybe with a wagon. And if we have the global marijuana show, it still happens. Let's say there's only 10,000 people or 5,000 people. Vendors could show up with a wagon, pull their stuff along, sell it in the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
that could absolutely be done. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's all kinds of ways of getting around the laws and stuff. And like I said, I know, like I said, with legalization, it just makes it so there's not going to be the illicit, crowd, but they're still there. Like, that's another reason why we're having issues getting guests for our shows, is because if they are there, they don't want to advertise. They don't want to be known. They want to just keep doing what they're doing on the down low. And I understand that completely, because when you've been doing something for 30 years, and then all of a sudden some big corporation or big government comes in and says, well, sorry, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You have to follow this.
Same with this, whereas they said they wouldn't give them the permits. And so they're thinking, well, that's going to shut things down. And as this line says, when it came to vendors, there were many options. You could purchase all kinds of edibles as long as you weren't looking for a meal. There were plenty of options to purchase, including the regular brownie and cookies. Shatter was everywhere. So many people had it that some of the booths were selling it way below regular asking prices. And of course, there was plenty of cannabis included or available. This included everything from pre-rolled joints, as well as straight up buds and moon rocks. So just because they didn't have permits, that didn't stop anything.
No, $125 ounces, like, you know what I mean? $2 a joint. And that's the thing. That's what these festivals were for, as well as connecting with other like-minded people, because, like, a lot of people don't go to work and say, hey, want to go smoke a joint? But if they're in a park with a bunch of strangers, they will.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. This year we were covering a live show on the 420 radio network. We're doing live there. At that time it was called Lifestyle Radio with Al and Mary Jane, a bunch. We were all there. And we continue that here at the PACE Radio Network. It's just unfortunately, you said there's no events to go and cover.
Right. And like I said, with any luck, summer, is coming. Like, I don't know what you guys' regulations are out there, but I know out here, our vaccine rates are up, and people are looking forward to, like, our Sam Steele Days is going on right now. We have this has been an annual event for the last 100 years here, right? It's like any Whoop Up Days or Calgary Stampede, only it's, of course, on a lower level. It's a little town, but we're doing, last night they had a car parade where the cars drove around town, because we can't have a parade still where people congregate on the streets and people line up to watch a parade. That is still not allowed. So they had a car parade, and like, so things, but things will go back. Like I said, I've got great faith that these, if people are getting vaccinated, the vaccines are proven to work, that we will get our lives back. So we just have to keep looking forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. It says here that I wrote that people were from across Canada appeared, people from the U.S. One of the examples was Julia Rose. She was up from the U.S. She was in there marching. Michael Francis, I believe he's from out west, Saskatchewan, I think. Best Buds Society is what he was with. Who he was with. We had him a guest. We had him on the Pace Radio Show as a guest, and then it seemed like a month later, all of a sudden, I was walking beside him in Toronto.
No, it's awesome.
So
Yeah, I know that's one. The Global Marijuana March in Toronto, I believe, was the biggest one in Canada. Where the 420 was in Vancouver was the biggest one in Canada, and 420 in Toronto was pretty big too, but not quite as big as Vancouver. Where Global Marijuana March in Toronto was the biggest. And we aspire to be like, I did a Global Marijuana March. I did the first ones in Lethbridge starting in 2008 because nobody was doing them there. So that was one of the big events. Like, we weren't more 420, we were more we were more with the Global Marijuana March. It was the worldwide marijuana march. Yeah. And Dana Beal actually started the Global Marijuana March because Dana got busted in the States many years ago for transporting pounds of weed between states. And got busted and went to jail. So Dana Beal's actually the person that started the Global Marijuana Marches in the U.S. and I jumped on with him way back in 2007. Yeah.
I see here we got one of our recent guests on the network here on your show, Justin. Justin is there. Matt from Shadow Riser in the picture there with Mary.
Yeah, Jane. And they've really come from just having vaporizers to now being an extract company. So they've done the full legalization flip.
Yeah, exactly. At this time, I got to talk to John Fowler during this march. He was at one time the owner of Supreme Cannabis. He's no longer.
I think he's got another LP.
Oh, he does. Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah. So it was good to see. Good to go there, and there at the end, shout out goes to Grandma Peaches because she was once again going to hang around afterwards and participate with the cleanup crew. Grandma Peaches was there every year doing cleanup. Bags and going out there and picking up all the garbage from that was left around, and it was good to see.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. like, leave it better than you found it. Yeah, and then nobody has a complaint that you were there.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking with Grandma Peaches yesterday. Actually, I was talking to her.
Nice.
She gave me a buzz, and we had a gab about things and reminisced. So
yeah. Like I said, it's really unfortunate that we've had to stop doing this. But like I said, I have great faith that next year is a whole new year and a whole new ball game, and let's just look forward to what we can do in the future.
Exactly. All right, now next up in the magazine on the next page. This is what I was talking about at the very beginning. There's the directory. We used to have the signing clinics. You can see the signing clinics are in there.
Yeah.
Compassion centers across the country where people could go. The MMPR or ACMPR, information, doctor forms, all that, so people could go get it. And instead of I made sure that we had the links in there so people could, if maybe they had their phone in them, they could just type in the link, right?
Right, exactly. And like the doctor form is available, so if it's just nice and quick, one stop shop kind of thing.
Exactly. And then the last page, the back page was from our sponsors, which was BMA Hydroponics. You can see there we got them. They're connected with. They had Mom and the Haley Rose Foundation.
That's our foundation. That's what we were doing. And I still, like I said, we were And we still are. Like, I know Deb and Ross work really hard to try and
Yeah.
license medical patients and help them. And I'm really pleased and happy that they've been so successful out there, that they were able to open a second store. And because I mean, like I said to Ross, I had him on my show a couple weeks ago too, and I said to him then, like, you guys struggled for a lot of years during illegal because people were too scared to come in and say, hey, I want to grow pot, because, you know, like, they just were scared. Now it's 4 plants are legal, and that I'm really pleased to see that they've been able to hang in there and stay, right? But they're really sweet people too. Like, Ross and Deb are amazing people.
Yeah, I was just there the other day.
Yeah. I wish I could drop in on them. That's why, like I said, I feel like I'm just out here floundering by myself out here.
As well as Legacy 420, they were a big push behind the magazine. So made sure that we included them in this as well. So there we go. That is the issue. Grassroots Advocate 14. And for those who are watching, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. But going forward with different things, we'll find out how we'll change things up.
You betcha. And it did only take us a half an hour, like you predicted. So that's the shorter version. So we'll have to either add content or just cut the show back.
I see there's a 41-minute timer on there, so we'll be under an hour. So today was a live test.
And I wasn't as long-winded, so there we go. We didn't take up as much time.
So we weren't sure how things were going to work out, but everything from what I've seen worked out fine. And so, alrighty, let's see. As far as closing out, just a reminder to let everybody know that we will be back next month with issue 15 of Grassroots Advocate. The day, it's when it happens right now. Yeah, and you can find PACE on Twitter at PACE Radio. We're also on Instagram, and you can find us on the web at paceradio.net or PACE-online.ca. Thank yous go to our sponsors, Legacy420.com, BMAHydroponics.com, DrBuckCTS.com, which is Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions, and the Camelford Lifestyle Shop. Plus, thank you to our listeners for tuning in the program, and to Tamara, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to tell you all a little bit about a plant.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. You're listening to the PACE Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
The People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network provides its listeners with news, information, and a place to be heard. This is done with a twice-weekly broadcast of the Reefer Reporters and by providing cannabis advocates a place to be heard through Cannabis and Coffee to Marijuana and the award-winning PACE Radio Show. Catch it all here at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains, and when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
What is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network? It's a network of people advocating cannabis education.
CTCP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CTCP.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at PACERadio.net. The opinions of the